Uh, so thank you for joining us this moment. I am Brian Matara. I am the founder of Obicus Foundation, which is at the initial stages of advancing and shaping up. And so this moment is actually a moment to meditate on whatever that we've been doing and probably assess whether we are doing the right thing, if we are making progress, or even at some point we are doing a very simple stride. Let me say a baby step. So I can confirm that we are well coordinated, we are well prepared to tackle the issues and the objectives that we've been setting in place. And this moment, I think I'd like to, before I go forward, I wish you a very happy World Food Safety Day, probably on the 7th of every June. This is World Safety for Food Day. And today, probably from my own submission, I would say food safety is a first step towards building a very good nutrition and building a very sustainable health in the current sphere where we are living in so many things and so many crises that are around the world, so to speak, climate change being one of them, as it has impacted many youth, many environments, many lives. Then at some point it has costed us millions of lives. The impact of the oceans, and then the discharge of affluents from various industries into the ecosystem, probably in the oceans, in the lakes, in the lakes, and in the rivers. So we're seeing so many things happen that we would like to address as early as now, so that we can ensure we are building a very revamped generation, a very revamped planet for the future of our continent and even the world at large. So as we get started, we are trying to build up a partnership with as many youth as possible, trying to figure out what we need to advance in our various objectives that are really objective towards realizing our mission, and probably to coordinate our services into a very on point, and let me say, as we submit zealously into these other spaces that we are making, we also want to leave a world at a position where we would not meet. So even as we succeed our mentors, even as we succeed those who came in front of us, probably our predecessors, we wish to ensure that we are leaving a mark at whatever point that we touch. And this comes from our initial capital that we bring into the cost of many things that we are addressing. Right from ensuring that people are living in a very safe climate conditions, probably in the intent to ensure that we are reducing carbon emissions. We are doing much more to reduce plastic. On 5th, we did celebrate the World Environment Day, where we did a few stuff that are really good for our environment, and we urge our youth at every position, at every angle that they find themselves in, they should have a chance to probably plant 1 or 2 trees to enable them move forward and then thrive in every other courses of action that they are in. The other thing that I wish to call upon the youth to adjust to is the call to ensure that we are addressing this issue of gender disparities. It has been prevalent over the years that gender equality has come with a lot of violences, and then the inequalities surrounding it makes it very, very, very vulnerable for our young women, our young men, probably the youth, into realizing their dreams. And this comes to the issue of now as empowering the youth and assessing whether the empowerment that we're giving is really on point to sustain the kind of space that we are in. Probably we don't look forward to have a population that is over empowered and others is of not empowered really. Probably I would say let us not empower a certain gender so that it can be overpowering a certain gender. So actually, we are calling upon our leaders, we are calling upon various humanitarian organizations from every other department. And probably over the years we've seen the rise of the United Nations, the rise of USAID and UKAID, which are really looking at a point of stabilizing, enabling, and creating a space that is very sustainable for the youth to thrive in. Then we've seen over the years UNICEF came in as a very big force to reckon. And again it kind of collapsed, and I don't know where the rain started beating them, but really there are some impacts that they are making onto our refugees, into our children, our street children, making a lot of effort into our abandoned homes and families. So this is the kind of space that we need to have so that we can ensure that probably the sustainable development goals that were defined in 2015 in the Berlin conference are really met. And if we mean we need to be the enablers, and if at all we need to bring our issues so that we can react with this general accord, I think it will be good for the future of our planet and the future of the life that we are really safeguarding. And it being a moment to generate an impact that is going to make our world thrive and probably see everyone in Cloud9, we need also to think of the very best solutions and remedies onto the problems that we are currently facing as a society. Now that we have the rise of extremism in many other kind of ways, extremism in politics, extremism in democracies, extremism in tribal relations or maybe engagements. There are so many extremisms that we really need to tackle, and it calls upon general reconsideration or maybe a readdress to ensure that we are really at a point of not kind of being sustainable onto the issues that are pertinent as at now. And we create a forum that is good for the general view. We create a group for the entire community, the society, in as much as we are doing community organizing for change, for peace, for advanced democracy, to build our democracies, to do political stability or maybe stabilization ways. Then over the years you've seen how political instability is now a really big menace into the African continent. So we've seen a number of issues surrounding our countries, for instance Sudan, which is really under a political distress, and then you could see how the fall of the DRC has been rampant over the years, ever since we did the very first history in the rise of Mobutu Sese, and then it dropped down to a point that DRC is now being explored, or maybe it is being scrambled for the sake of resources. And then you could see how the Boko Haram in Nigeria, they are doing a lot of stuff which is really hindering political stability. And then our safety comes first, and how can we rise to occasion that we're going to deal with these issues more generally and specifically than the way before? How can we ensure that even in Africa we have a permanent seat in the United Nations Secretary Security Council? Because if at all our young men and women were taken to fight in the world wars, the first and second, and even in the rise of the Cold War, most of them being Africans, it's also a point whereby we need also to give a genuine readdress. I've seen a number of issues that have been raised by the former or maybe the late Kofi Annan onto the perspective of having Africa as one of the key permanent states in the UNSC. So on my own take, I'd say, yeah, really we need Africa. We need a country from Africa to be in the Security Council. Probably I would suggest Ghana, I would suggest South Africa, and any other country, probably whichever country. Ethiopia was never colonized, so we can also take that. Probably again Algeria. Is it Algeria? Algeria also was not colonized. So if at all we can have something of that kind, we can build the input of Africans. We can't have decisions being made by our fellow brothers in the Western community, and then take it as it is the best for us, and even into the African centers. We've seen even how India is rising, and then they have no permanent seat in the UNSC, which is really a point of trying to define how we should live. And then we should focus on these pertinent issues that are moving in and around the UN, so that we can have a very strong leadership, a very strong sense of ideas and technologies on how to advance in the various spaces that we are in, right from the UNSC, as I would say, probably to sum it up. In the world, there are privileges whereby, the rich are the ones who take advantage of the privileges, and then there are basic ones. So the basic are for the poor, from probably the people from the low status. And when the status quo is at a very low angle, you could see that the privileges are being fought for more than even the basic needs, and then they end up missing the basic, or maybe the people from the poor background end up missing even the basic because of too much wrangles of enjoying privileges by the rich, to a point that the basic are maybe not advanced by the people from the low status quo. I would wish to sum it up and probably have an engagement later on to ensure that we are fully addressing these issues, which are really on top of our tables. Probably if it needs a very good round table that we need to address such issues, I know I'm up to the task. I know I can do it genuinely, and I call upon whichever organization to bring on board these kind of topics, so that we can discuss in length and see the alternatives onto the best recommendation that we can give to any other relevant authorities. So from this other side, I wish you well. I've been your speaker, probably as you can call me, Brian, founder of Ruby Press Foundation. So I'm pleasure to talk to you all. Goodbye.